All right, everyone, good morning. Medicare AEP is coming really soon. I can kind of feel myself getting a little bit anxious, which is good, a little bit excited. What a lot of clients are going to kind of default to is that they need to talk to you. And I find this many times is I cannot think of what my clients could ask me because my understanding of the plans is very, very objective, right? I'm gonna look at things at a cost amount versus the clients might be looking at things at a will it cover perspective, right? But they're not gonna know what exactly to ask you. So what you need to do is to build kind of like a Q&A and also kind of get them to think about what their questions are. I'll give you a good example. So yesterday I had a call with one of my clients, and a lot of his questions were primarily revolved around the current services that he was getting right now. And he had asked me these questions like right towards the end of the call. Like the call was pretty much a courtesy, like it was not a courtesy, it's not that it's like a hello, how are you doing kind of a call. It was more of a checking in, right? But a lot of the checking in was him telling me about his travel, his kids, right, and his mom. So, it was somewhat relevant, but for the most part, 0.01% of the things we talked about was plan related until we got to the end, when he kind of realized that our hour is coming up and I need to get everything that I can out. So a way to get out of having your clients kind of just like bombard you with, I don't want to say they're unimportant, they're probably the most important thing to your client as he or she's talking to you, but to get the plan specific things, you need to boil down kind of what those important things are to your client. So ask things like, has there been a time when you went to the doctor and you were surprised? Or is there a specific medical bill that you are afraid to get? Is there some service that you are kind of worried about getting next year? Or are you concerned about cancer prevention, or all these things, right? And then you can knock those things off because those things are a lot of times at top of mind health-wise for seniors. And then you can discuss those things and take care of those things that the client has concerns about when it comes to the plan. Because obviously the plan will, the summary benefits and such will tell you exactly how much those things cost, how it's covered. If you look at the evidence of coverage, you learn a little bit more. But to be honest, unless you actually know what service the client wants, you will have no idea how that gets approved, other than it probably will need a prior authorization. And that's okay. But you just have to let them know that, right? Like, oh yeah, by the way, if you want this service, it's gonna require a prior authorization. That's just the way the plan works. And that's the way that a lot of plans work, right? Most plans require a prior authorization for larger or more complex procedures. It's common. But that's how you would kind of take what they're currently doing medical-wise and avoid spending too much time on what the client is kind of just saying. I was getting to a point where I thought, and it was a longer conversation. I ended up speaking to my client for a little over an hour, and a lot of it was just him curating things to talk about, which I understand, because when you are talking to somebody in a professional standpoint, right, like you're going to get your car service, you know so little, at least I do anyway, I know so little about a car that I'm just grasping for things to talk about that we can like have a conversation on, where the person opposite of me would have something to say that I would have something to say too, right? We kind of do that. And if you don't prep the client to have answers or to have questions, they are going to default into, I'm going to try and bring this conversation into a world where I am confident that I can have a response for. Not that I have a correct but just that I have an answer for it. And what that does to the professional, and I've just kind of made this realization too, is it makes the professional very, very stuck in like the small talk. Because the small talk where you build rapport is important, right? To the sales consultant, it's important. We are all taught that is important, right? Building rapport is step one in the sales process. But once you've built that rapport, very little is required to upkeep it, so long as you're doing everything you're supposed to in regards to your client, like, checking up on them and, answering whenever they need help, those types of things. So if you're doing those types of things, you don't need to build any rapport through like an hour-long conversation. In fact, most times building rapport shouldn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes when you're initially meeting with someone. So what we need to do as salespeople is to provide like a framework for our consultation, our conversation, so that the individual who we're talking to is equipped with enough conversation topics, at least to them, that will create this conversing kind of relationship, right? Because a lot of times when I talk to my clients, there is a predisposed kind of understanding on what we're going to talk about. That's just the way I like it, because I don't want to answer the phone or talk to somebody and have absolutely no direction, right? I need to have a direction, and my client, in order for them to follow me, they need to know what direction that is. And unlike, maybe some trust activity, I don't want my client to be blindfolded, I want them to see each step as they follow me on this path. They cannot be blindly following me, because that's not how I run my business. I want them to see exactly everything I do, and that's why I provide videos on my thought process. When I look at the variety of plans that are available, I go through my thought process. I go through what I would do based on the information that they give me, based on the information that I know, and based off, my industry experience, right? So that's kind of what I do. And when I don't do that, I get these 2-hour long calls that end up jumping all over the place, because my client is simply trying to keep me on the phone because they think that they need to talk to me for an hour, And that's not what they need. They need to get information in order to make an informed decision on something that's very important to them. Okay? So that kind of ends my thoughts for today. Hopefully it helps you kind of build your own Medicare intake questionnaire, something that you can really keep the conversation focused on what matters most to your clients, and not what really matters most to like their circumstances in their life settings right now, like who won the football game and such. I mean, that's nice to talk about. I wouldn't know, but for people that like that stuff, it's good to connect. But once you've made that connection with them, start focusing on what's important, why you're making the call. Remember, we only have a finite amount of time to work, right? Even if you are working in your retirement age, there's still a finite amount of time that needs to be dedicated to work. If you're working for money, finite amount of time dedicated to family, to whatever it is that you do. Not everybody can not eat like me, because I don't eat and I don't drink for most of the day. I don't have to go to the restroom most of the day. I mean, because I think that's really inefficient. I'm sure my kidneys and my stomach would agree otherwise, but for me to do my job and to be fully efficient in whatever I do, that's just how I've adapted. And that's probably not healthy. I probably won't live as long, but you know what? I am doing exactly what I need to do in this time of my life to get everything that I need done. And that's just a matter of fact. Anyway, Hope this helps. Make sure you have a plan when you're talking to your client, things you need to address, and don't hide those things from your client. Make sure they know what you need to address, what they need to know, so that they can have fruitful and productive conversations with you, and that you can have many, many happy clients during this AEP. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.